everyone, it's Miss Ashton here. I hope you're all well. Now today I'm going to read you a story called Fi Fi Fo Fum. Now you might recognise that from a story you might have already read called Jack and the Beanstalk, but this one is just a little bit different. Shall we see why? Here we go. Wolfie's plan to eat the girl in the red cloak had gone well to start with. He'd hidden Granny in the cupboard and put on her nightclothes before the girl walked through the door. She had screamed so loudly, well, wouldn't you if you saw the big bad wolf? That Will, the woodsman, had heard her and come running to her rescue. Here we go, can you see? Here's Will the woodsman coming to rescue Little Red Riding Hood from the wolf, wearing her granny's clothes. In a panic, Wolfie dived out of the nearest window and landed with a yelp in an enormous patch of stinging nettles. Could his day get any worse? That doesn't sound very good, does it, landing in the nettles? Luckily, he managed to outrun the angry woodsman, who was weighed down by his heavy axe. Not taking any chances, Wolfie kept running, forgetting that he was still wearing his granny disguise. Just as he thought he was safe, the nightie slipped down around his ankles, making him trip and fall into a thorny bush. He really hasn't got much luck today, has he, guys? Once his head had stopped spinning, he saw that he had landed outside of a little cottage. Inside, he could hear an angry woman shouting, "Oh, Jack, what on earth are we going to do with these beans?" Oh, no. Before Wolfie could move, the beans came sailing out of the open window and rained down on his head. "Ow!" he said. "I've had enough of this." It was starting to get dark. Wolfie was exhausted, so he settled down to sleep. As he lay dreaming, a beanstalk began to grow from one of the beans. It stretched higher and higher into the sky, and by the time Wolfie woke up, it was disappearing into the clouds. He heard the sound of rustling leaves from above and caught a whiff of a smelly sock. "Oh, a boy!" he exclaimed hungrily. There we go. Those pictures. You can see the beans falling out onto the wolf's head. The wolf sleeping with the beanstalk growing behind him and the big beanstalk growing into the sky. And you can just about see the legs at the top. Here we go. "No more red-cloaked girls or little pigs for me," he said to himself. "I'm heading after that boy. Soon it will be lunchtime." Wolfie climbed as quickly as he could, using his claws to grip the stalk as he clambered higher and higher.
Power off.
When he finally reached the top, he gasped in amazement as he stared up at a gigantic castle. It was so huge that it looked like it belonged to a giant. In the door was an enormous cat flap through which he just saw a boy's legs disappearing. Wolfie struggled as he waded through the soft, fluffy clouds, but eventually he reached the flap and clambered inside. He tried to follow the scent of Boy, but was distracted by another smell that crept inside of his hairy nostrils. Someone who smelt even worse than the boy was nearby. Who do you think could smell worse to the wolf? What do you think? Could it be a giant? Let's see. Wolfie crept quietly through the empty halls until he reached the kitchen. There, on top of a huge table, stood the boy, with a goose under one arm and a harp under the other. Without making a sound, Wolfie tiptoed towards him. But the silence was suddenly shattered as the harp played a noisy tune. "Uh-oh," said the boy as the ground began to rumble. A terrifying voice boomed, "Fi Fi Fo Fum." "Fi Fi Fo Fuff," muttered the wolfie to himself. "I think it's best if I head off." But at that moment the boy jumped down from the table and landed on Wolfie, pinning him to the ground. Oh no, and can you see where the boy landed? He landed on Wolfie's head. Oh dear. "Sorry," said the boy, grinning as he ran towards the door, "and thank you for the soft landing." Wolfie struggled to his feet and raced after the boy with the thud, thud of the giant's footsteps close behind him. The boy hurried through the cat flap and raced ahead, but poor Wolfie was too slow. The giant yanked open the door and sent him flying through the air with a colossal kick. Wolfie landed in a painful heap next to the beanstalk. Oh dear. Determined to catch the boy, the persistent wolf scrambled down the beanstalk with the giant in hot pursuit. In his haste, Wolfie slipped and tumbled, overtaking the boy and bouncing from branch to branch before meeting the ground with a bone-shuddering thump. Oh no, poor Wolfie fell off the beanstalk. Look at that. He's not having much luck today. Now, you might think this is where Wolfie's problems would end, but unfortunately for him, there was one last horrible surprise waiting for him. Who is it? It's the woodcutter. Oh no! There in the garden stood Will the woodsman with his sharp, shiny axe. "Not you again," Will yelled. He chased after Wolfie, accidentally hacking at the beanstalk with every swing of his axe. Soon a creaking sound filled the air and the beanstalk began to topple. The giant and the beanstalk came crashing to the ground. As the boy headed back to his cottage, Wolfie stalked away, furious after a disastrous day of bumps and bruises and no dinner. Maybe I'll go and visit those little pigs again, he thought. Third time lucky after all. Some wolves never learn. The end. Well, that was an interesting story, wasn't it? Now let's do some dancing of that story. Are we all ready? Everybody stand up on your feet and clear a big space. Here we go. Okay, so now we are going to dance our lovely story that we just read. So at the very beginning, the woodcutter chases the wolf away. So we're going to run away like the wolf. Are we ready? On your tiptoes. Job. Now, whilst the wolf was running away, the story said that the woodcutter couldn't walk very fast. Do you remember why? It was because he had a heavy axe. So now we are going to pretend to pick up a very, very heavy axe. Oh, show me picking one up really, really heavy. And we're going to pretend to walk with the axe, which is really heavy. Okay, here we go. Hard work, wasn't it, everybody? Well done. Okay, so when the wolf ran away and the woodcutter got left behind, what did the wolf see and hear? Do you remember? In the story, the wolf stopped outside a house. What was happening in the house? It was Jack and the beanstalk and his mum, wasn't it? And what do you remember? Do you remember his mum threw the seeds, the magic beans, out of the window, and then the beanstalk grew. So we are going to go scattering some seeds. We're going to do some lovely skipping, okay? And then when we've finished scattering the seeds, we're going to make it rain. I know that doesn't happen in the story, but the rain definitely helps seeds to grow, doesn't it? And then we're going to turn into a growing, winding beanstalk. Are we ready to scatter some seeds? Everybody kneel down. everybody kneel down. Should we all put a pat away, please? Well done, everybody. Now, when the wolf goes to sleep, do you remember what happens to the seeds? What happens to the magic beans? They grow into a big, huge beanstalk. So we are going to turn into those little planted seeds, making a really, really small shape, as small as you can go. And then with the music, we're going to make our beanstalks grow up to the sky. Okay, now when the wolf wakes up from his very deep sleep, he sees the magic beanstalk has grown. And what does he smell? He smells a stinky sock. Oh, okay, so we are going to climb the beanstalk. Here we go.
Jack looked up, Jack looked down, at the clouds, at the ground, saw his house looked so small, hoped that he wouldn't fall. And he went higher, higher, up into the sky. And he went higher, higher, up into the sky. And he went higher, higher,
making sure that he can't hear us so that we can find Jack. Here we go. Well done, we got inside, and when we were inside we found Jack, but we also saw a big huge giant. Oh no. Okay, so now it's time for us to meet the giant. Are we ready? First we're going to look around like the wolf, and second we're going to turn into the big giant. Are we ready? Well done, everybody, give yourselves a clap. Now then, when Jack sees the giant, what does he do? The wolf says he's got to go, but what does Jack do? He jumps down from the table onto the wolf's head. Oh no, we're going to do some big jumps. Are we ready? Manages to get back down the beanstalk, the woodcutter comes along and chops down the beanstalk, and the giant falls down to the ground, and the wolf walks away defeated, doesn't he? Or is he defeated? What did he say he was going to do? He was going to try the little pigs again, wasn't he? Here we go. Well done. ourselves a clap. Well done, everybody. Hope I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.